Recently we've been getting a lot of inquiries on repainting kitchen cabinets. They get old, they get scratched, the finish wears off, you get sick of the look of wood. So we've got a system that we suggest on how to do it here, and I'll kind of run over it with you guys and give you a chance to see how to make your cabinets look like something completely different from what they do now. First and most important step is cleaning and deglossing the surface. It's to get rid of the grease and the grime that gets on them, and to get the surface ready to accept the primer coat. There's two basic ways you can do that. One is to clean it with a product like TSP or Durtex, which they've been around for a long time, and then sand it with a sandpaper or steel wool, depending on the situation, and then clean it again to get the dust of the sandpaper off. There are some easier ways to do that, so we won't use these techniques. There's what we call liquid deglossers. The two most common that we carry here are the Wilbond and the Gloss Off. The Wilbond is solvent-based, so it has a bit more of an odor to it. The Gloss Off is water-based, so it has less of an odor. More and more people don't like to deal with the smell, so they're going with the water-based solution. So we're going to use that for this project. So we'll get rid of all these things and grab the Gloss Off. And what you're going to do is you're going to take a clean white cloth, you're going to pour some of your Gloss Off onto the cloth, and you're just going to literally scrub the surface down. And you're going to scrub it to get rid of all the surface contamination until the rag doesn't come out this ugly yellow color that you see here. And we're going to skip ahead because I did a door and it is all clean, and you can see how much less of the grease that you get up in the areas here. And my next step would be to make sure all the little felt pads were off. If you were going to, you can use some Scotch-Brite pads if you had some excess of grease or grime or something you were worried about. And then you step onto the filling. So if you're going to move any of your handles or any of your hardware, you take some wood filler, you fill the holes, let it dry, and then sand it before you prime. And then you would grab some primer. Our favorite primer here is what they call Stix. It is a water-based primer. It's white. We can tint it to some colors. It won't get dark like deep colors will, but we can tint it closer. It has phenomenal adhesion. It sticks very well to these surfaces. There's nothing else that we've tried does even close to it. The Kilses, even my other products, the Fresh Starts, don't have the adhesion that this has. So then all you pretty much do is you start priming. You can use a brush like I'm doing here. You can also use a small roller in combination with a brush with a very fine nap on it. Particularly useful on the face frames that you're going to leave up in the kitchen. Most of the time people paint these in the basement of the garage, and basically you're just going to prime the surface. You're going to prime everything once. You're not worried about whether or not you can still see through it. Right now you're really just trying to get the surface coated, and then your finish is going to be the thing that's going to actually create the good appearance. So priming is really, in this case, just about getting it so that you have a good adhesion for the finish to stick to. And I'll do all of this, and then we'll come back later on and we'll show you how to put some finishes on and give you some suggestions on kind of finishes to use. Alright, the doors have been allowed to dry. The tape is just for demonstration purposes. We painted this on Monday, it's now Wednesday, and that's the Stix primer. It doesn't want to come off. It has very good adhesion onto a varnished surface and many other glossy surfaces. We're not looking for the appearance, again, as I said on the primer. We're looking for adhesion and to give us a good base to establish for the finish coats. So that's done, and now we're going to pick a finish coat. And there are more than a few options available to us. We've got 4 of the basic categories laid out here. One would be this one over here, which is the cabinet coat, which is actually made by the same company that makes the Stix. It's actually the same resin package the Stix contains as a primer and finish, so you could put just 2 coats of this on. It does limit your color selection. You can only get whites and some off-whites out of it, so it's a good option to make things simple. You can put 2 coats on and be done with it, but if you're looking for a little different effect, you don't have as much of a spectrum to pick from here. The next thing you've got is your conventional interior latex semi-gloss type trim paint, or any satin finish, whatever you prefer. Nice option. The limiting factors is latex semi-gloss trim paint or latex satin finish trim paint is made for trim, so it doesn't always level off as well as you'd want to. Which brings us to this one here, which is what they call a waterborne alkyd. This is the one we're actually going to use. It's an alkyd resin package. It gives you a bit harder of a finish than the latex product. It has a little bit slower dry time, so you get less brush lines out of it. It does a nice job of leveling off. And then above that, you would get into your oil-based trim paint type of product. You may or may not even be able to get these in your area. They are nice, they're very hard, they're very chemical resistant, but they have a bit more of an odor. The dry time is quite a bit longer, so you're waiting 8 or 12 hours to dry in between coats, just to be able to move the pieces around. And not everybody wants to deal with the oil, so we're going to use this one here, which is, like I said, a waterborne alkyd, so it has similar hardness to this one. Not quite the same chemical resistant, but similar hardness, and it does a nice job of leveling, gives you a beautiful looking cabinet when you're done, and it's a low VOC product, so it has very little odor to it. I almost always start off on a raised surface so that I don't have to worry about the edges touching. I tend to do the back side first with 2 coats, so that when you're ready to do the front side, you can flip it over and it looks good. And if you scratch the bottom of it, nobody's really concerned. You can, put it on some blocks, or I've seen people screw some balls down so that you've got a nice surface for it to stay on where you don't leave a big dent. When you do paint the bottom, you want to make sure it doesn't roll around this edge. So as you're painting the bottom of it, you don't want drips coming around the face of it. You have to just be careful for that. You can even take a rag after you're done and just wipe that bottom edge of it carefully. And then the only other thing of importance is when I do paint a cabinet door like this, I tend to try to paint in the direction of the wood. So this particular slat, style of rail, I would paint this way, and then this one here I would paint this way, and I actually clean up the corners when I'm done, because if there's brush lines, they tend to follow the grain. People don't tend to notice them as much. Don't play with it. In other words, once you've put it on the surface, you don't want to keep going back into it, because the paint will start to dry and you'll actually make more of a mess out of it. You can use a roller again, like we said yesterday, to do this, particularly the box of the frame on the box of the actual cabinet. Other than that, we'll put a couple coats on everything. I'll show you what they look like when they're done, and maybe we'll do a follow-up video. We'll glaze on the front side of the door, just to show you a different effect. Here we have our finished doors. We've got the white one, which was done in a satin finish white advance, and the OC10 door, OC40 alabaster door was done in the semi-gloss advance. We're going to leave this white one the way it stands, and hopefully in a future video we're going to antique or distress this one, put some of that glazing in the corners. These are going to be displays for the customers to see in our store, and we left a little window into the past on this one so they could see the steps involved in getting to this look. If you do notice some lines through them, they are an oak door, so you will almost always see the slight effect of the grain of the oak through the door. You can get away with it, but it's generally a huge amount of work. So that's the effect you'll get with your average oak kitchen door. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, feel free to stop by or give us a call, and we'll see if we can help you through it. I'll put the number in the video. Thank you.